So I want to talk about resistance training today. And I think we've talked about this in the past, like Pilates people who lift and just the importance of resistance training and lifting. So it's really, as you saw my post from Jenna Zaffino earlier today, I just put this up. And I like the fact that she's taking some time to look at resistance training. And this is something that I was doing as well. I had a TRX class and Coach Robin, what's up? So what I'm saying here is that Jenna has a program here, which is a resistance training program that's weaved into some of the other classes that she does. I think this is great. I'm a big Jenna Zaffino fan, but I'm a big resistance training fan, and that's the reality of it. And as much as this Pilates thing is great, maybe I should start here. With the resistance training, when I was doing my training and my certification, I was recommended to stop lifting weights. Stop doing resistance training just for a season while I was trying to get Pilates, quote unquote, in my body, right? So you may have heard this story before, but that was one of the challenges that was given to my teacher, who in turn passed it on to us. Because as a guy who played football and just there's such a focus on like your bench press, your squats, your deadlifts, all that stuff, that you're strong in areas and you're weak in areas, and the way you train continues that cycle of getting stronger where you're strong and weaker where you're weak. So it was good for me to stop resistance training while I was working on getting my certification, understanding where I'm supposed to feel stuff in my body, being able to articulate where I need to, be able to activate where I need to, be able to relax where I need to. Key. That being said, I still personally believe that resistance training has its place, is important, and should be part of the flow of your workouts. So as much as some Pilates people would say that Pilates is all that you need, I think that you can get away with that if your Pilates library catalog is big enough that you can weave in the resistance training pieces. But there's still something to be said for the power of actually picking something up that's heavy and putting it back down. So that's where that's my thoughts. And what do you think on that thing? I see Fit Club Pilates already saying, I agree with you, it should be well-rounded. What's your thoughts on resistance training as part of your training and for your clients? And yes, and Fit Club Pilates also saying you need resistance training if you have had injuries. Yeah. You can play both ways, right? Like, I mean, you can do springs, you can find that resistance, you can, at a base level, resistance training is time under tension. So if I can manipulate the tension, resistance training, or I can manipulate the time, both of them are gonna result in hypertrophy or strength training, right? So I train clients with weights and Pilates, that she's saying. So I don't know, what are some of your other people's thoughts on that in terms of resistance training and how it weaves into our Pilates work? You know what I mean? And let me say this too. When I was not doing any resistance training and doing my Pilates, there was the first part of it, we were working on our basic mat, like kind of like the level 1 stuff. And there was nothing within the work at that level that was challenging enough to supplant the need within me to just power out some kind of tough, challenging exercises, no matter how deep I got in some of those exercises. And I felt that drop off even hormonally. And I'm very cautious to call it a depression, but like you work in the same hormonal release that you were from the resistance training, and that was affecting me negatively. When we got into the intermediate and advanced exercises, and then I found some new challenges within my body and then a chair and all these different pieces, then I didn't notice as much of a drop off. And at the same time, while I was doing these, I was still playing flag football, still playing a lot of sports pre-pandemic. So it's like I was saying to myself, if I notice a drop off in my performance, I'm out. Like I'll stop this Pilates thing, I'll just continue to lift and figure it out, whatever. But at the same time, I was lighter, definitely lighter, but I was faster and I was actually stronger just doing Pilates. And that was the thing that brings us into a conversation, is that I know people who just say Pilates is all you need. and they're good enough that you could just do Pilates with them, and you'll find those strength and resistance and all this different stuff. And I found it within my body, but I still think that there's a place for it. So I'm not disagreeing with them, but I just recognize, because I can prove both ways. But I just notice in my body that I just like lifting heavy stuff, right? So for me, I'm going to introduce people to it because there's a sense of confidence and competence that comes with it, and there's all that other warm, fuzzy stuff. Lisa's comment here says, resistance training is like the TRX. Resistance training with the TRX is different movement patterns, and I miss the HIIT style training while training for Pilates. Yeah, right. So now with that, and I use the TRX a lot, and there's a lot of transfers to Pilates, and Pilates definitely enhances your work on the TRX because you have a better sense of core engagement and static while dynamics happening at the same time. So I like that. And there's less of a cortisol release with the TRX as well. That's proven. So fun fact there, if you want to get people training and they're in a real high stress rate, get them on the TRX, you can still get that muscular fatigue without the same cortisol release that is going to cause them to go into more of a stress state. So I wish I had the support for that, but I've heard that and I've seen how that works, and there's actually a research article on that somewhere. Yes. So Pilates and resistance, thumbs up. Just Pilates, thumbs down. I don't know, like in the chat. Let's see, what do people think? Quite the glare today. Hi, Paula. Jen Duggar, good to see you. Get fit. What's going on? What's up, Phil? Oh, I forgot to say both. All right. Coach Robin, if you are free, want to join me on screen, you can. Just give me a thumbs up and I'll bring you on. So Phil, if you just jumping in here, I was talking about how, and you were with me during this time to a big degree, when I stopped doing resistance training while I was learning my Pilates. So we're talking about the resistance training versus Pilates, and do you need one or the other? And I'm saying that both go hand in hand. There is a place for resistance training. However, when I was in that stage of learning my Pilates, I benefited greatly from not doing Pilates to understanding my body, and actually did get faster and stronger, even though I wasn't putting on as much muscle mass as when I was lifting. So even though you're not a Pilates guy, if you want to put your comments in the chat section, that'd be great. And I'm reading Jen Duggar's comment here. So a lot of my clients do other forms of weightlifting, etc., on their non-Pilates days. I don't usually use more than 2 to 3 pounds with them. Right. So if they have it somewhere else, then you can really focus on a movement pattern, or focus on mobility or stability or something along those lines. Your time is given to that. They can do their own thing. I have clients who do CrossFit, and then our days are just focusing on putting them back together after CrossFit, right? And that keeps them going in their CrossFit. They love that. And they love the fact that they can push their body and break down and just get strong and love that, and then come in here and get that tune up and get stronger as a result of it. Even within that, him saying like the other day, like they were doing an exercise and he's like, oh, I can't do it. And he went up and did the exercise, and the coach was like, wow, I didn't think you could do it. And he's like, I didn't think you could do it either, but that was the Pilates, right? So it's funny how all these things tie together, and that wasn't a knock on CrossFit. I know some guys who are great CrossFit coaches, but yeah, that's the whole point. Like, you're breaking muscle down to make it stronger, and that ties into my next comment, unless anyone has anything here, about being comfortable, about that stretch, about that work that happens. If you're not uncomfortable in your workout, are you really growing? Are you really challenging your muscles? Are you really challenging your mindset? So whether you find it in Pilates and resistance training, there's that curse of comfortability that happens, where now it's just like, well, this is what I always do. This is how it feels. This is how it works. And yeah, we can get into just challenge ourselves in that way. But I offered, just for those who are catching this afterwards, I asked Coach Robin Renee if she wants to join me for the chat, and she says that I'm power walking on the track and gotta conserve my breath. That's right, get it. I feel you, because I know you do all your hiking and stuff. You need to work on your conditioning for that. I'd probably die out there. So that being said, that comfort, that discomfort that comes from that resistance training, I think is so key. Debbie Robbins, how are you? Do you lift weights? I'm gonna ask you, Air Control Pilates. Do you actually do resistance training? I know you're mad strong from all of your aerial work and your Pilates work, but do you actually lift too? Just curious. That's kind of where we're going with this conversation. There's something to be said for that challenge and that hypertrophy, and I know that if you read any of Joseph Pilates stuff, he talks about big, bulky muscles and trying to bring balance to the body. So do we start to shift away from weight training? Almost like, with like women, how they say they don't want to lift because they don't want to get big sort of thing. Do you think that within the Pilates world that there's this idea that resistance training is bad because it's going to turn you into a bodybuilder and we're supposed to be working towards muscle balance? Like, what is the pulse on that? What are people saying in the Pilates world around weight training? And if you want to answer the question just on screen, you want to just give me a thumbs up, I'll bring you on. We can do that, or you can just write your answers in the chat. I'm just writing resistance training. Okay, so just reading this comment here. Pin that. All right. So Phil is saying, I think closed chain resistance training helps with bone density, and Pilates, I think, has a level of intrinsic stability that helps people to be grounded and allow for greater strength. Yes, that's a good layer into this, is like closed chain resistance training exercises. That's getting pretty technical there, because I mean, even within Pilates, you can have a closed chain. Okay, can you hear me now? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me before I get into my next comment here. Hey, Natasha. Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up. We're good. Okay, great. What's going on, Mark? So we're talking about resistance training, and the comment that was just made a moment ago was Phil saying, I think closed chain resistance training helps with bone density, and Pilates, I think, has a level of intrinsic stability that helps people to be grounded to allow for greater strength. So the resistance training piece, true. The closed chain exercises are so key too, right? Because that gives people feedback, and that sets them up for open chain exercises, right? And then even springs are almost like, springs really closed chain when it's that wild, and like, whether it's a leg circle or something like that, that gets you working out of your powerhouse, that gets you working out of your core, that gets you engaging muscles that you didn't think you had. And you wake up sore in places you didn't know that you had places, right? Like, so that sort of thing. So there's that element of it as well. So I wonder if, to some degree, what we're saying there does make sense, but then it's how it's being presented as well. Now, I have a personal training background, sport conditioning background, and I think that I'm always looking at it through the lens of a personal trainer, but then also looking at it through the lens of a Pilates and it's just that muscle balance and that stability and mobility dialogue, right? So, Phil saying, I think Pilates helps resistance training, but I don't think that resistance training benefits Pilates. Well, what say you? I think that Pilates resistance training helps resistance training, but I don't think that resistance training benefits Pilates. What do you say? I'll just leave that out there for a moment before I answer, while I make up an answer. Hi, my life as a yoga girl. Pilates helps resistance training, but resistance training doesn't help Pilates. You got to think about the library of exercises in Pilates. And I know for my body, I gravitate to exercises that require strength. I'm not going to call them guy exercises, as it's been called in the past. Whereas I naturally forget the exercise that require me to be bendy, right? Like I'm not inclined to exercise that require flexibility. I can't see myself doing splits and lunges every single day. That sort of thing. So I find that there's exercises that I do in Pilates and resistance training that will help my Pilates, whether it's like your push-ups or whatever. Like there's some exercises, upper body exercises that you do on the resistance floor. Then when you come in here, you're doing standing springs on the tower, or for example, and then you require that stability. And then you can layer in your strength, then you're using a different spring. And you have to find different variables to make it challenging once again, because the strength part of it isn't hard. It's the stability part that becomes a challenge. It's the extension part that becomes a challenge. The mobility piece becomes a challenge because you've got your strength from the resistance floor. So that's kind of my thought on it. So I mean, yes, you have to look at it in a different way. And I'm not the expert on it. I'm just throwing this stuff out. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions on that. But I think that the resistance training does help my Pilates and vice versa. It might be more noticeable when I bring my Pilates onto the gym floor, when I'm stronger or my recovery is better, that sort of thing. But I think it goes the other way. Because I have clients that are on just resistance training clients that I'm kind of trying to bring into the Pilates space. And I have people in the Pilates space that I'm trying to get onto the gym floor, right? So like, one or the other, they're always trying to work them through. Comment, but if you do enough strength exercise in Pilates, would you be able to do more resistance than someone who had just been doing resistance training? The short answer is it depends. But if I use my squat, for example, my squat numbers might go down. Actually, let's do it like this. When I stopped lifting and I was just doing Pilates, I still like doing the bench press. I like being able to have my numbers on the bench press. So even though I had stopped lifting, I would every month, every 6 weeks, jump on and just see what my 225 bench press was. And it stayed around the same number even though I wasn't doing bench press. However, my max bench press dropped off significantly because I wasn't doing that. Because there's such an overtraining and muscle breakdown that happens at a higher number that if I'm doing, you never do 80%, 90% of your max effort in Pilates. Even if you're doing 3 or 4 reps, you're trying to get a correct movement, whatever it is. But it's like you're never edging up on your maximum effort. So that naturally was going to drop off. Everything in between, like the strength endurance numbers, those numbers were going to stay the same because there's different stimulus and different variables, but the max number, like those power numbers are going to drop off. So maybe it depends on that. Like, I mean, if someone wanted to improve their power, it's tough to improve your power in a Pilates space. Unless someone in the Pilates world would like to have that conversation and explain it to me. How would you find power in Pilates? Traditionally speaking, from a resistance perspective. Sorry if this conversation is boring. I'm just like, this helps me as I just go into just talking with my clients and guiding their workouts. Hi, Elena. And Jen, if you want to join me on screen, you're more than welcome to. All right, Phil, come on. Hey, what's up?
Hello. Okay, so I'm trying to do my work, but I just can't. So basically, here's how I see it. So and I think I said this, I think I wrote it, but I don't know if it was clear. So I think, as I stated, that Pilates benefits resistance training because you get that certain level of stability and that allows you to push more weight or essentially push more weight. Um, I don't think resistance training benefits Pilates because you could have like no formal training, lack of better words, resistance training or no experience resistance training, and do like you said with bench press, you do 225 every now and then just to check in. You'll always be able to do 225 for whatever number you were doing because you're practicing that movement at that weight over and over again. Same thing with Pilates. If you start doing the same movements in Pilates over and over again, you're going to get better and better and stronger and be able to do more resistance because your body used to that movement, right?
Sorry, just jump in. I don't know if Sonia's still here. Hi, Sonia. We're talking about resistance training and Pilates, and Sonia also has done powerlifting as well as being a Pilates person. So we're talking about just that dialogue between resistance training and Pilates right now, just to get you up to speed with what we're talking about. So you're saying that resistance training, your comments further up here, but anyway, you can say it again. So you think that the resistance training is not going to translate to better Pilates?
No, I think that if you're stronger, you'll be able to do like the strength movements easier because you're stronger.
Right.
But I think that somebody who's just pure Pilates, who's never done resistance training, can also, because of the repetition, do the same amount or more than somebody who's strong by resistance terms. Or yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Right. So when my elevator pitch for Pilates, what I always say, it makes you stronger in your weakest links. I think that's where that ties in because like the person who's just been doing Pilates and not doing resistance training has a better sense of organizing their body around an exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Instead of favoring or hiding behind their stronger muscles.
Yep, exactly. So how does resistance training benefit Pilates? Right?
Yeah.
Your pitch is Pilates can benefit your resistance training.
Right. So if a person is struggling, and for those in the chat, like help me on this. So if you have a person who is struggling with an exercise in Pilates, do you ever take them out to the resistance floor and say, let's isolate this deltoid, or let's isolate this calf, whatever it is, or this quad, or this hamstring to help you to improve your Pilates exercise? Does anybody in the chat do that?
So would that be like the equivalent of, okay, give me the what is the apparatus where you push your leg out? You're like this and go, what is that?
That one?
Yeah, that one. There you go. Yeah. What's that called?
That's a Pilates, that's a chair. That's
okay.
That's a marathon.
Okay.
Chair.
So what muscle group do you need to have your client understand in order for them to do that at a higher level?
Right. Okay. So yeah. So then that's exactly it. So maybe just for a simple example here, a glute activation. They need to be able to get the glute working if that's the one that's causing the most trouble with it.
Okay. So then you could technically bring them into a gym and get them to activate, like get them to do a movement, like whatever, to get them to activate their glutes so that they can feel what that muscle is supposed to be doing, and then get them into the chair. Like, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Oh, that's actually what I've done. I just like, so I've done that with people um with on the tower doing like chest expansion where they have to press their arms down,
Okay.
or Sonia's here when we did the pulling straps, so you're lying on your stomach and pulling your arms back. There's a
Okay.
sense of getting your
Your
arms and
left.
your lats and everything engaged. So I may take them out onto the gym floor and do a lat pull down. So
Mm-hmm.
get them to shrug their shoulders, get those shoulder blades back, and then do that. So they get a sense of, okay, you feel how that's getting tired? Let's go back into the studio and then push back and see how that feels. That
Yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah, so that's where I would use that.
Yeah. And so I think that as a, I think that's a great tool. I just don't, I just don't see it as like resistance training benefiting Pilates. I see that
No, yes, that's like corrective exercise for muscle
it is
activation. Yeah.
exactly right.
And you
So
know,
that
it's so funny to say that because that was Lisa's comment, like right before we started, right at the beginning. Yes, she said I need resistance training if you have injuries, right? So that's typically where it comes in, right? The injury or muscles not activating or that sort of thing. So
yeah
yep,
right. So like that. So yeah, all I'm saying is if I'm a gym dude, my gym dudism is not going to be helping my Pilates, right? Like it's just not. I might
right.
be a little bit stronger because I'm strong, but it's not going to help me in any of the real movements because you're gonna have to slow things down, and still make me understand what's actually happening, so I can do it properly.
Yep.
Whereas with Pilates, you get me doing Pilates first, or get me doing Pilates to increase my deadlift because then I've got that stability. I'm grounded. I can, I know what muscles to use and engage at what time.
Yep.
Squats, so I have my balance. I'm not going to fall over, and that's going to help me to be stronger. Bench, like it's going to help all those things. Jumping, running, like all these things, right?
Yep.
But
Yep. True story.
that's
All right.
my sense.
It's good. That ties up
Thanks.
nicely. All right.
Okay,
I'll
good.
let you
I
be.
got it.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Anyone want to dispute that? That was pretty clean. No pun intended. That was really good. So let me see here. Christopher and Gavin, what's up? That is basically what I wanted to talk about. I think that's going to be recycled on Jenna's page, or just on her dialogue about the importance of resistance training, and that's pretty. That's it. Hypertrophy. I was going to play with the term like mental hypertrophy or something, just tying that into just our mindset and just our emotional wellness and how we need to continue to stretch ourselves. But that's for another day. All right, party people. If you guys have any online classes, workshops, things that are coming up, please put it in the chat. I'd love to cheer you on. Let me see. And also what's going on. Like if you know of any other programs and stuff that are coming out, let me check my chat here. Please let us know what we need to promote and we'll promote it. Great. All right, party people. That's all we got for today. I just want to talk about resistance training and Pilates. Nothing heavy, but heavy. So lift heavy stuff, put it down, find how that works into your Pilates work, find that balance, and that line, which makes sense for me, is like Pilates makes you stronger in your weakest links. I love how Phil just said that a minute ago, how being in the Pilates space and going out to the floor is definitely going to help me get stronger in every way and find that balance with my bodies, and which will help me enhance my lifts, whatever they are, because I feel more connected with my body. So that all ties into it. So find your Pilates, find your resistance training. Check out this, which Jenna is doing. I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. So she's got a 6-week program, some resistance training stuff. Please check that out. Support her. If you have anything that you're doing that you want us to amplify, please put that out there as well. And thank you to all of you new people here. If you have any suggestions for people that you'd like to have on as a guest, please put them in the chat. I'm going to reach out to some of you here because I'd love to have a conversation with you and just hear more about what you're doing, where you're located, and all those things. So, Karmic Movement Pilates, what's going on? Hannah Stretch Fit Pilates. Yeah. My Life as a Yoga Girl. And Centerline Pilates. So really, always appreciate new people in the space. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we are back at it tomorrow with another freestyle, maybe a guest of a few people who are in the works. Nathan Reese Ross. Let me see, make sure I'm pronouncing his name properly here. Ross Reese, sorry, is joining me on Thursday. It will be his Friday. He's in Australia. So that'll be an earlier show. That's going to be an 8 a.m. show on Thursday to accommodate my guy who's going to be waking up or not going to bed past midnight to have a conversation. So lots of amazing people out there in this world. It's not just a US thing, not just a Canada thing. There's people around the world who are rock stars, complete heroes in our Pilates space. So you'll hear from them here. You should hear what they have to say, see what they see, and we'll have a good time. That's what we do here, is just really support, amplify, and connect those who are doing great work. Holistic Toronto, what's going on? So I love cheering these people on. And yeah, so for those of you who just joined us too, if you have any like online classes, workshops, stuff like that, please put it in the chat so we can cheer you on. And even on the replay, if you want to put it in the comment section there as well, that'd be great. And I think we're it. We're done. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock every day, Eastern Standard Time, and we're out.